United States education is your gateway
to a great American campus experience,
to pursue your passions,
to navigate cultural differences,
to gain real-world experiences,
to learn skills for a changing job market,
to thrive in your career,
to give back to your community and to the world,
to be the kind of person that you wouldn't have dreamed to be otherwise.
Come study in the United States.
Welcome to our webinar, our today's webinar. We are very happy and excited to welcome all of you here, and I hope you will enjoy all the information that we will have for you today. We are very excited to share with you the fact that we will do our first webinar for June, and that is dedicated for the pre-departure orientation, which is going to be conducted by our advisors, Umid, Anissa, and me. So, okay, let's start. My name is Alina Yakubova. I am an EducationUSA advisor. Here you can also see the names of my colleagues, and they will present their topics a bit later. But first of all, I will just like to introduce our services and what we are going to talk about today. So during our today's session, we are going to talk about 6 important topics which needs to be considered in your pre-departure orientation. So that should be the getting ready for your visa, the preparing for travel and U.S. border control, arriving in the U.S.A, getting acclimated and culturally adapted, the financial management of your expenses part, the academic and professional preparation part, and the mental health and emotional readiness. So EducationUSA virtual project is here to help you with super interactive webinars with useful resources and materials. We are here a community of like-minded individuals, and we offer you consultations, informational courses, and interesting webinars, which we really hope can be useful for you and for your preparation. You can scan this QR code to visit our platform. You will find a lot of information, which we hope you can use. Then you can also follow us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on Telegram, and also on LinkedIn. So please follow up everywhere to be up to date to any events or webinars we are having scheduled. Then, who is EducationUSA? So for those who watched us before, as you know, and for those who are new, EducationUSA is located in 430 international student advising centers across the world and in more than 175 countries. We are offering accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-date information. Okay, so the calendar that we have for June is super interesting, and I hope that you are going to join us for all the webinars that we have planned for you. Today we're having the pre-departure session, pre-departure orientation session dedicating to studying in the United States, which is going to be conducted by our advisors. Then we have on 18th of June the tips and tricks for standardized test preparation. So there we'll have students who are going to share their experience taking tests such as SAT, TOEFL, Duolingo, IELTS. So please subscribe for that also. Then we'll talk about exploring community colleges, the 2+2 educational system, which is going to be conducted together with our advisor, Aynash Kudisheva. And then we'll have our last pre-departure orientation, which I also think it's super interesting and useful because it's going to be conducted together with our students, with our alumni. So they are going to share how they adapted, how they took their visa and how was that for them and how was the interview. And I'm more than sure they can share a lot of tips with you during that webinar. Here you can also scan the QR code to access the full webinar schedule. You can see that on our website. So please subscribe, leave there your questions. We're going to answer them during the webinars. And of course, during our today's session, we are going to also answer to your questions. So after every presentation that we have, we'll stop a bit and we'll just give you the floor to address your question. So you can leave them in the chat and we'll take our time to answer every one of them. Okay, so our first topic is getting ready for your U.S. visa. And we have here my colleague, Anissa Hojieva, who is very excited to share with you a lot of interesting information about the preparation process and how to get ready for your U.S. visa. So Anissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alina. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing great. Thank you very much for all of you who have joined us today. And I assume that majority of you who have joined us today are actually getting ready for your departure. So first of all, congratulations with all of your acceptances. I'm sure you guys have selected the best universities, the best fit universities for yourself, and you can't wait to move to the States. And we are all today here to help you, to explain you the process so you feel more prepared and not frustrated when you will start working on it. So I would like to cover the topic of the visas. I think one of the most exciting topics that we all think about when we actually plan our departure to the United States. So to briefly tell you, today we're going to talk about the I-20 document. I will explain you what is that and why we need this. We'll talk about the visa types, and I will share with you some information about the documents you need to have and about the process of scheduling visa, your interview, and so on. Okay, so let's start. So I assume all of you who have applied to U.S. universities by now should know and get your acceptance letters. And probably the next email you got from your admission officers would be about I-20. Some of you may wonder what I-20 is about. Why do you need the I-20? Why everyone talks about the I-20? So let me explain you. I-20 is actually your official document. It's called Certificate of Eligibility, which certifies that a student is admitted to a full-time studies in the U.S. and he's admitted in the accredited U.S. university, right? And that it's like your official invitation to actually start your process of visa application. Because without the I-20, you cannot, for instance, even start the process of applying the visa. It's a very important document that you should have in order to begin your visa application process. I-20 is not just for visas. I-20 is actually a document that you will need when you will arrive to the U.S. and at the moment when you plan to leave the U.S. It's something you have to remember about, a document which you have to have with you all the time, because I-20 actually identify the period you can stay in the U.S., okay? And that's why whenever you have the I-20 document, usually U.S. universities email you that document, because after 2020s, majority of embassies in around the world do not require the physical copy of I-20. So they accept the electronic copy of I-20, which means that you will get that document by email from your university. You will print it out, then you will sign it, and then you can use it in order to start your visa application process and move on. So I think it makes sense, but just to highlight once more, it's your official certificate, your official invitation to start your visa application process. Something to pay attention to whenever you're going to fill some information for I-20 or whenever you're going to check that, make sure your names, everything, your addresses, everything is spelled correctly, because once more, it's an official invitation. So if there are any mistake made on I-20, it can result in a negative visa decision for you guys. Okay, next. Now imagine you got your I-20, you have it on your email, you print it out, you signed it, and you're ready, and you don't know, okay, what should I do next? Actually, next step would be to apply for U.S. visa, right? But before applying to U.S. visa, let me give you an overview. What kind of student visas are there? So there are three types of student visas, which are F1, J1, and M1. We're going to focus on F1 mostly today because F1 visas are the student visa if you are going to study at the college or university or at any English language program for more than 3 months. If you have educational program, which is 3 months and longer, in that case, you will be applying for the F1 visa. We also have J1 visas, which are exchange visas, which means that you go to the US for temporary period, and it's usually on exchange program. It can be Flex, I don't know, UGrad, or any other programs you guys have heard about, which are exchange programs, meaning that you go there for 6 months or a year, and then you're coming back to your home institution. And last but not the least would be M1 visas, which are for non-academic studies or training in the United States, if again they are longer than 3 months. Okay, so these are the 3 types of the student visas which exist, and you guys, the students, will be applying for F1 visa. Majority of you who go to college or university to pursue bachelor's, graduate, or any studies, you will be applying for F1 student visa. How the visa process looks like. The first is application. You need to check the embassy, fill the application, embassy's website, U.S. embassy's website, fill the application for your visa. The next step would be interview. You need to schedule your interview, attend your interview, and the final step would be to learn about the visa decision, right? Whether your visa was approved or rejected, or it was on administrative processing. So it depends, and I will tell you a bit more later. But just for you to know, so it's application, interview, and then visa decision. Okay, now talk about the application. So the first thing you do when you start applying for the U.S. student visa, you actually can go, if you have U.S. embassy in your country, you can go on their website. So majority of countries do have U.S. embassy representatives. If they don't, they probably have some information about third-party organizations which work with U.S. embassies. But for those of you who have U.S. embassy in the country, you should go to the U.S. embassy website, open the section about visas, and select F1 visa. And whenever you see F1 visa, the first thing you would need to do, you would need to fill an application. The application for any non-immigrant visas are called the S-160 form. It's an online application. It's available on the website. At the end of this presentation, we also will share the resources, the pages where you can access well, you will have different links to get information about DS-160 and other important things. But usually, if you have once more embassy in your country presented, then you can open the website, go to the visa section, and the first thing you will see would be the DS-160 form. It's an online application. You fill it online, and it asks basic information about you as a person. It asks travel information. So the key sections, which are highly important to fill out and fill out correctly, would be personal information, meaning you have to spell your names, last name, home addresses, phone numbers, emails correctly. Would be travel information, which is all about where you plan to travel, what is the purpose of your travel, right? How long you plan to stay in the US, what you're going to do there, and so on and so on. So usually for travel information, you have to insert the information about your school. So you would mention that you're going there for studies. You would mention the period of your education, where the university is located, and so on. The next important information to pay attention to would be the U.S. contact. And for those of you who apply to studies for F1 visa, for you guys, U.S. contact will be your university point of contact, right? Usually the ones, the administration offices with whom you are in touch and who send you all those letters. So you would need to put their information there. And last but not the least, security and background information. These are questions which are asking about your background, the criminal check, and other things. So you also have to be very careful when you fill this information. So with the S-160 form, it's online application form. It's always available, like, via laptop. You fill it online. You don't have to do it right away. So it can take you a couple of days to fill the S-160, which is absolutely fine. But as soon as you are done with the S-160, you have to make sure you review it once more, because you have to check whether the information you put there is accurate, right? Once more, make sure you spell everything correctly, that you insert the right information. Next thing, which I would highly recommend you to do when filling the S-160, it would be provide honest information. So there will be questions about your relatives in the United States, about your purpose of going, when are you planning to go, and so on. So make sure you fill that information correctly and you provide the true information, because your biggest mistake which you can make when filling the S-160 form is to lie about some things. And I highly recommend you not to do that. Because you are going there to studies, you are going to apply, to pursue your either undergraduate or graduate studies. Having relatives in the US will not cause you any issues if you don't lie about that, okay? So I hope it makes sense. If you feel there's another 60, next step, which I would recommend you to do, it would be to pay for the SEVIS fee. So it's only for students who apply for F1 visas. You guys would need to pay a SEVIS fee. So a SEVIS fee is a specific U.S. government system which manages data and application process for F1 and J1. I'm sorry, F1 and J1 non-immigrant students who are coming to the United States. So SEVIS fee for now, it's $350, and it's one-time payment. So you pay it once, and that's it. For instance, imagine I'm applying this year to undergraduate school. I paid my SEVIS fee once. I got my visa. I finished university, got my bachelor's degree, came back home, and in a year decided to apply for the graduate school, for the master's program. I reapply for my visa again, but I don't pay SEVIS second time. Okay, so for the SEVIS, you pay just once. It's your one-time payment, and you can pursue as many degrees in the future and reapply for F1 and J1 many times in the future, but you don't have to repay it. Okay. If, for instance, in case if your visa was rejected, unfortunately, the SEVIS fee will not be reimbursed. But for instance, if in a couple of years you decide again to apply to U.S. university and you're applying for either J1 or F1 visas, you don't have to pay that. Okay, that money will be secured on your name. Okay, so we filled the DS-160 form. We paid our SEVIS fee payment. Okay, one thing to mention. So with the SEVIS fee payment, to pay for that, you go to the website, which we will share at the end. But you have to find your name, right? So how do I pay for a certain student? There are so many students applying to the US every year. How do we find for whom and how should I pay? Basically, remember I talked about I-20. So whenever you will receive your I-20 document, on I-20 here on the top will be written your SEVIS ID number. You're going to use that number to pay for your SEVIS fee, okay? And that number will be always linked to your account, to your name. So in the future, for instance, when you are reapplying to other universities, they will know that, okay, that person has actually paid SEVIS fee payment, so they're not going to charge you anymore. Okay, I hope it's clear. So next would be to start gathering documents. So documentation is very important. It may vary from embassy to embassy slightly, but in majority of cases, you guys have to prepare same package of documents despite your country of location. The first and the most important thing should be your passport, right? International passport, which is valid at least 6 months into the future. So for those of you, for instance, who are applying to undergraduate school for bachelor's and will be studying in the US for 4 years, I would highly recommend you to make sure that your passport is valid for at least next 4 years, right? So you don't have to change it in the middle of your studies and stuff. Make sure you take care of it in advance. Because if, for instance, your passport expires, you still can get a new passport. But if your old visa was an old passport, you will need to carry 2 passports with you all the time, which is not very convenient. So you better think about it in advance. Have a passport which is valid, not just for the next 6 months as recommended, but for the whole period of your studies in the US. Either it's 4 years, 2 years, plus 6 months, okay? It will be much better. Next one would be your I-20. As I said, I-20 is the foundation. If you don't have it, you cannot even start the process of applying to visa. That's why make sure you have it printed and signed by yourself. Next would be proof of admission of enrollment, basically your acceptance letters, right? So university would need to send you, and they usually send you the acceptance letters, which are signed by either director or principal of school. So you have to print it out and have it with you. Also, for instance, if you are awarded with some financial aid, make sure you print out those letters as well, okay? It's very important to have everything with you just in case. Next, since you would pay for your SEVIS fee payment, during the interview at the embassy, they're going to ask you to provide the receipt. So they will check whether you have paid or no. So I know the cases when students did not pay for the SEVIS fee, arrived to the interview, but their interview was canceled because they didn't receive the payment for the SEVIS fee. That's why make sure that you pay for your SEVIS fee in advance and you have your receipt ready by the time you arrive to the embassy for the interview. Okay, and last but not the least, I would recommend you to have all your additional documents. Okay, like your TOEFL scores, transcripts, just in a separate folder if some counselor decides to ask that. And also, final very important document would be proof of financial evidence of financial support. So basically, imagine if you have received a full scholarship from U.S. university, then you would need to provide a letter confirming that, right? If you are willing to pay and cover your education using your family's income, you would need to provide the proof of that. So it will be probably a bank letter, or I don't know, a sponsorship letter, anything which confirms that you have enough funds to cover your education in the US. And again, let's go back to I-20, because on I-20 will be indicated amount of money that will be, for instance, given to you as a financial aid, as a scholarship, or amount of money that you have to cover yourself, like it's either your parents or family, it does not matter. So that information would be listed on your I-20. So whenever you come to the interview, it's important to show that if on your I-20 it says that it's you who are paying for your education, you do have letters and documents supporting that. If it's your parent, then they have to provide a bank letter saying that they have this amount of funds for at least a year to cover your education. But my recommendation would be that if, for instance, you plan to study 4 years and your parents are fully covering your education for next 4 years, try to get and show that you have funds for the whole period. It will be much safer to demonstrate that you have funds for the whole period rather than just showing for 1 year. But 1 year is acceptable, right? Usually embassies request only financial evidence for 1 year. Okay, I hope it makes sense and it's clear. Next, now comes the most exciting part. So you filled the S-160, you collected all the documents, you paid the SEVIS fee. Now it's time to schedule interview. So it really depends on where you guys are located, but majority of interviews, they happen offline, right, in person, meaning that you have to go to the embassy and meet the consular in person. You have one-on-one in-person interview. Usually you schedule interview on the U.S. embassies or consulate website. So if you have, once more, U.S. embassy in your country, you go to their website and you schedule your own interview using their website. And you have to make sure you choose the right date and time. So you can imagine, right? Summers are the busiest seasons for consular offices because there are a lot of F1, J1 students applying for the visas. And that's why earlier you book your date, it's better. For different countries, it's actually they have different, processing times, and different times they allow you to schedule an interview. But usually, in average, you can, if it just for instance, I know for Central Asia, that for sure that it should be 120 days prior your studies can be your interview schedule. So, for instance, if my first day of studies is written on my 20 is August 1st, 2024, then the earliest I can schedule interview would be 120 days prior to that date, which is August, July, June, May. So the earliest I could schedule my interview would be May 1st, right? But some countries, for instance, I know like in Netherlands, they allow to schedule to you even like a year before. So you have 365 days. It really depends on the country because different countries have different visa processing times. You can check that, and you should check that on your country's U.S. Embassy's website. It will be written there. But in average, you are allowed to schedule your interview 120 days prior your first day of studies. Okay. That's why the earlier, usually the studies in the US start in August. So just count 120 days prior, and the earlier you register your interview, the better, because you would know that you will be able to secure, interview date for yourself. Because not just F1 students apply for visas, right? Everyone is applying for different type of visas, and everyone goes through the same scheduling system. That's why the first come, first in, and you have to make sure you plan it ahead. However, I know, for instance, for those of you maybe who just got your admission letters from a community college, or maybe you still waiting for the community college decision, you still can apply, in July or in August. If, for instance, you see that there are no dates available, everything is booked, I would highly recommend you to email the consular office in your country, because some consular offices may prioritize F1 visas over others, and they may find a specific time and date for your interview to happen. Okay, that's why that's very important to think about. However, also when scheduling your interview, remember about how long the decision is made. So in some countries, the decision about the visa is made right away, and they tell you, okay, your visa is approved or rejected, and you'll get your visa in 3 days. Like this is the case for many Central Asian countries. The visas are processed in 3 days. So for instance, if my studies are in August 1st, I came on July 1st, I know I will get my passport in time and I'll go to States in time. For other countries, for instance, it may be longer, right? There are some countries which process, even if they say that your visa is approved, it may take 2 or 3 weeks for them to put the visa, right? So that's why you have to find out all the information in advance, and we'll share with you all the links in the last slide, where you can check the processing time for each country, the country you come from, and that may help you to plan ahead your scheduling of interviews and so on. Right now, imagine we interviewed we scheduled the interview, and as I said, for majority of universities, U.S. embassies, interviews happen in person. So you arrive to U.S. embassy and you have your interview with the consular officer in person. On that day, what you should do, on that day when you come to the interview, you have to make sure you bring with you your appointment confirmation. Whenever you schedule your interview, you will get an email saying, hey, your interview is scheduled. This is your appointment letter. You have to print it out and have it with you, because it's a proof that you actually did sign up and your interview is today. You have to bring your DS 160 confirmation page. This is what the application form you have filled. But again, on your email, you will receive that you filled it, and this is your confirmation page. Print it and have it with you. You have your SEVIS fee receipt. You have your I-20, admission letters, and all other documents we talked. Also, sometimes some embassies ask you to bring passport-sized photos, which are usually 5 inch by 5. But not all of the embassies need the physical copies of those, right? Usually when you fill DS 160 form, you upload your picture online, and this is usually enough for many embassies. But some may still request it. That's why you can have it just in case if they ask it, okay? During the also your interview, you will be required to pay the consular fee. So it really depends on the country you are based in, on the country you come from. It really depends, how much it costs. In average, it's $185, maybe more, maybe less, depending on your country of origin, right? Okay, but this is what you do. You don't pay for it in advance. At least for majority of countries, you don't pay for the consular fee in advance. You usually pay it during your interview, but there may be some cases where you have to pay it in advance. But usually you pay during the interview the consular fee, which is for more or less around $185. It may be different for some countries, but for majority, like Central Asian countries, for instance, it's $185. Thing you have to know about the consular fee, that unfortunately, if your visa is not approved, the consular fee is not reimbursed, right? So you pay it, and if you get your visa, you're good. If your visa is rejected, unfortunately, no one gonna return you the money. Okay. Good. Now imagine we arrived at the interview, and usually when I talk to students about the interview, they ask, okay, what kind of questions the counselor will ask me, how long my interview is. If you have any ideas about how long interviews usually, you can just put them in chat and I'll see whether you guessed the number correct or no. How long you guys think interviews last at the embassy? Let me know. I'm very interested to see the numbers. But and I'll tell you about it a bit later. But if we talk about questions, usually during the interview, if you apply for F1 visa, for student visa, they're going to ask you, okay, what is the purpose of your trip? And you will say, I'm going to the U.S. to get my undergraduate degree or graduate degree. And they will start asking you about details about your program. So basically, which university, why this university, why this major, and so on and so on. The next thing they're going to ask will be financial stability. Basically, they have to make sure that you do have enough funds to cover your education. If, for instance, you are saying that it's going to be you who pays for your studies or your family who is covering your studies, so you will need to provide the financial documentation, and they're going to check that. They will ask you, okay, who is paying for your education, and you would need to respond to that question. And last but not the least, they may ask you about your previous travel history. Like they can ask you, okay, have you traveled before? Which countries did you visit? Just to see whether your ties to your home country are strong enough, right? If, for instance, you have traveled somewhere before many, many times and you were always returning back home, it means you probably have stronger ties with your home country rather with the one who never traveled anywhere or traveled or didn't come back or had some, like, I don't know, when you validate some visa rules and so on. So they're going to check the areas they're going to check would be the purpose of your travel, your program, how and who going to pay for your studies, and whether your ties to your home country are strong enough. Okay, so let me just see what you guys responded in terms of timing. 5, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, so I think Camila, she was the closest one, because usually interviews last less than 5 minutes. Like, it's a very short interview. Maybe it's different in some countries, like, they have a longer interviews, but usually it's not longer than 5 minutes. They ask you these questions, and you have to respond not shortly, but they're not gonna have a very long interview with you. It's gonna be around 5, maybe sometimes 10 minutes, which I still think not really. It's around 5 minutes, maybe a bit more. If you, for instance, like yourself, would give more like explanations and descriptions to your responses. One thing to remember, so for instance, when you come to the interview, they'll ask you which language you want your interview to be, in English and any other language. For instance, if you are in Kazakhstan, Kazakh, Russian, or if you are in Netherlands, like Deutsch, whatever language, I don't know, I'm sorry. So they will ask you about the language you prefer. My recommendation, guys, if you even feel that you're very, like, I know you guys are very worried and you feel like your native language probably would work better. No, if you guys are applying for F1 visas, you're going to the US to study in university, demonstrate that your English is strong enough. So select English language, okay? Make sure you say, I want my interview to be in English, and respond to counselor in English. This is one of my tips for you. Next, be honest. Whenever they ask questions, and don't lie about those, right? If you have relatives and you know that you have close relatives, for instance, and you say that no, that I don't have any relatives, counselor will know that you have relatives there, because once more, you fill the DS-160 form. They do pre-check you before you come to the interview. That's why don't lie, okay? Remember the information you put on DS-160, because they may ask something from that, and they may double check your responses with the way you have filled on DS-160. Dress appropriately, which makes sense. Any interview, not specifically a visa interview, make sure you dress appropriately. Bring all the documents, which I've said. I usually recommend to have 2 folders with you. One folder which has your passport, your I-20, admission letter, financial documents. Another folder have your TOEFL scores, I don't know, your grades, maybe your certificates, everything you have, but have it in another folder, because sometimes counselors may ask you about, okay, but can I see a TOEFL score? And if you have it right away, well, you can easily show it, right? But if you say, oh, I don't know, I forgot it, I'm sorry, they may tell you, okay, then let's, postpone your interview, or we will wait until you bring them. So it's going to prolong the delivery of your visa. So make sure you better have everything with you just in case, rather than, waiting and taking it later after the interview and prolonging all this visa delivery time. Okay, so, but the most important documents would be, once again, passport, I-20, acceptance letters, and financial documents. That's it. And also be polite, be confident. Counselors are people, right? And first of all, they also can make their impressions about you. Be polite, don't be rude. If you don't understand something, don't be afraid to ask that. They understand that you are very nervous. It's your visa, interview. It's kind of estimate your future right now. Your future is being decided right now. So they do understand that you're worried. If you haven't heard something, if something was not clear, don't be shy to ask that, but be confident, okay? Be confident and be polite. Okay, so as I said, interview is 5 minutes. Usually, it really depends on countries, but sometimes, in majority of cases, you know the decision right away. So the counselor tells you right away as your interview ends. He can say you, congratulations, your visa is approved, and then he will explain you how you will get your visa. He may say, we are very sorry, but unfortunately this year your visa is rejected, and he will give your passport back and you leave. Or he can say that we need more time to double check some information. In that case, it means that your documents are going through administrative processing. In 6 years of my experience, I had only one student who had gone through as administrative processing, and he has been waiting for about a month to learn his visa decision. Okay, so this also may be the outcome you have after the interview. So it really depends which decision they tell. So if they tell you that your visa is approved, you just learn, paying attention to the information, when your visa will be sticked to your passport, when you should come and take your passport, and so on. So just listen. If your visa is rejected, you basically there is nothing you can do. You can reapply for visa if you want, right? But there should be things which are changed, which allow you to reapply for your visa. And if your visa is under the administrative processing, then you have to just wait for the decision. If let's have the positive outcome, right? Your visa is approved. It really depends from a country how much time it takes for your visa to be sticked in your passport. If you have the physical embassy in your country, it's usually faster. You give your passport, you wait a couple of days, you go take your passport, and you have your visa there. So with visas, it's very important to see the period, right? Usually, different countries have different visa, like F1 lengths. So for instance, for Tajikistan, it's 1 year. The F1 visas are issued for 1 year. I know for Turkey, I think it's 10 years, right? So you get your F1 visa, maybe not for 10, maybe for 4 or 5 years, and so on and so on. It really depends from country to country. But one thing which can be applicable to all of you, it's the letter about the entry. You may either have S entry or M entry. S entry means single entry, meaning that if you enter the States with this visa, you can enter with S on your passport just once. As soon as you left US, you have to reapply for visa to go back to United States. If, for instance, you have M entry on your passport, it means you have multiple entries. So, for instance, imagine my visa is valid for 1 year. From August 2024 till August 2025. I arrived to States in August 2024. Then during the Christmas time, December, I came back home. But my visa is M, right? My visa has M entry and it's still valid till August 2025. I still have some period. I don't reapply for visa. I just go back with the same visa in January, for instance, to US, because my visa allows me to come and leave, do multiple entries during that period while my visa is valid. If my visa has S entry, single entry, it means I am allowed to enter with this visa United States just once. And if I leave, even earlier, like, when my visa is still valid, but if I left and my visa is single entry, I still have to reapply for visa. I hope it makes sense. I do know it sounds very complicated, but usually if you get it, it makes more sense. And also when you will go to States, you will have people helping you understand everything. Okay. So I think this is the last slide which I want to share. It has all the links and resources I've been sharing. So the first link, which is U.S. Department of State, travelstate.gov, it's about visa process, right? F1 visa, different types of visa. But this link will specifically bring you to F1 visas. It will tell you about the documents and etc. SEVIS fee, this is the link you use to pay for your SEVIS ID. I think I forgot to mention, or I did mention, but SEVIS fee right now, it's cost $350. This number, I mean, it's been like $350 for a couple years now. Prices change. It may increase, but for a couple years, it's $350, and you pay just once. This file, this link will bring you to the S160 form. So it's an online application. You can open it, just see how it looks, what kind of questions it asks. And final link, it's about wait time. So depending on your country, it will indicate how much time you have to wait to get your visa. So for instance, as I said, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, maybe a couple of days, some other countries, longer days, and so on and so on. So I think that's it from my side. I tried to be as detailed as I could. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to respond to them.
Thank you so much, Anisa. Yeah, we would like to mention once again that, guys, all this information should be checked once again, as Anisa said, on the U.S. Embassy website, definitely. So look there very carefully for all the documents, for the DS form, and for all the conditions that you need to follow up before your interview. Okay, so we have here a few questions. And I think, Anisa, we can start answering them now. So I just want to mention that at the end of all our presentations, we will do another Q&A session. So maybe you will think about another question a bit later, and you will just, and now you forgot it. So the question might appear. Okay, so the first question. I'm not really sure what exactly the person meant, but I think she wrote that on the slide where you were presenting the I-20 form. So the person said, is it the same for other countries, Europe, Asia, etc.? Maybe the person can be a bit more specific about what exactly she means, what about the I-20 form, or what exactly maybe?
So I-20 form is same, and you get I-20 form from a university. So it has same pages, has same lines, but different universities issues it differently, right? Some universities may require some payment before they issue the I-20, but the file itself will look same for every country where you need to have your visa, right?
Okay.
So for instance, if you are from Canada, you don't have to have visa to go to States. They may have some other form. But for all other countries which need and require visa to enter the United States, I-20 will look same, I guess, for many of you. The content will be different, but the document, the lines, same.
Okay, great. Okay, does it require official reference from school, or unofficial is okay too? I think she meant that for the visa interview.
Visa interviews, I mean, if you check the website, they usually never talk about school references. But I would suggest you, as I said, if you have your second folder with additional documents, if you're worried, just take it with you, right? Of course, it's much better to have an official reference rather than unofficial, but it's never set on the website that you need to provide the reference from school. But maybe, for instance, if you graduated your school, you can get your high school diploma just in case if counselor asks, so you can demonstrate that. But usually your I-20 already tells them the information about where you come from, which school you come from. So this is something they're going to pay attention more rather than the references.
Perfect. What if we don't have passport? Is it acceptable just with citizen documents?
So again, it really depends on which country you're coming from. Usually, it depends. Again, so it really depends on the agreements between your country and the United States, right? So if United States allows you to travel with your citizen document, you can use citizen document. If your country, like U.S., does not allow your country to travel with a citizen document, in that case, you need to have international passport. So it really depends. I'm not sure which country you're coming from, but I guess if you use one of those links and select the country, it will tell you. But I'm sure if it's Central Asia or Eurasia, you would need to have your international passports.
I think in the majority of cases, they would need their international passports for the visa interview. But definitely, they can check that once again. I think you can check that on the U.S. Embassy's website, and they will list the list of documents that you would need to bring with you at the interview. So yes, you can, as Anisa said, you can send them a separate email. Normally, that's listed on the website, and you can ask them in case if that's confusing for you. Okay, so I think we don't have another question related to this part. So I think we'll go on with our, okay, so she meant the visa application process.
Yeah.
Okay.
The visa application process is more or less same from any country you come from, because the information, about the documents, the process, it's same. It's been taken from the website which we shared, and it's like general website. As I said, some things may be different, like the consular fee will be different, but the process is same. You get your I-20, you collect documents, schedule your interview, come for the interview. So this is how it works.
Okay, perfect. For instance, I just can give an example, if I might add here. For Moldova, for example, for sure you need to pay your consular fee in advance. So that would be before the interview. And then after you would pay your consular fee, you would have the access to the calendar, and then you can schedule your interview. So yes, definitely that's super, different for different countries. So as Anissa said, check it on the U.S. Embassy website. If you have some unclarities, just send them an email. They normally answer within 1 or 3 working days or business days. Yeah, something like that. So just check that with them once again, just to be sure. Okay, good. So I think we're done with this presentation. Just want to mention that all those presentations that we are gonna do today, they will be sent to your email addresses, guys. So if you've registered in advance, we will make sure to send the presentation on your email address. So we hope that's gonna be useful, and then you can see also the links there. Okay, good. So I think now we can go to the second part, to our next topic, which is dedication for the preparation for travel. And yes, it's going to be presented by me. So I know that this might be a topic which for someone is really struggling, and I would really like to explain in details what you need to consider when you are preparing for travel and when you are arriving in the U.S. And you are there getting your visa. You've got your visa, you've booked your flight, you've booked your ticket, and you've arrived in the U.S. What do you do next? So, okay, the presentation that I have for you today covers such topics as crossing the border documents that you need, then the question that you might receive at the border, other things you might consider when crossing the border and might be super useful to know, tips for smooth travel, what do you need to do when you arrive on campus, how do you make your budget, and what helpful tips after arrival on campus we can also give you. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that if you're coming to the United States with a non-immigrant visa, or even from one of the countries that doesn't require you to have a visa, the first person you met on the arrival, whether you come by air, land, or sea, will be an officer of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So the officer will inspect your passport. He will be looking for verification that you've been given permission to be in the United States. And he will also ask you questions designed to elicit any information that might prohibit you from entering. So if arriving on an immigrant visa, you might also need to hand over a sealed, unopened envelope containing your immigration file. But normally that's online. So if you received one, but in some cases, this information is transmitted electronically, and I know from being in Republic of Moldova, I know that this normally is sent electronically. So a notation in your visa will be said like ID docs in CCD. So yes, but that's a question you can maybe also ask at your visa interview in case if you are also confused about. So I think that you should definitely be aware, and you should be conscious about prepare for lines and delays at U.S. border or port of entry. So there are huge lines because there might be several flights or several planes coming in the same time, and it's crazy when you are getting there and there are a bunch of people. You are for your first time in the U.S., for example, and you don't know where to go. So I know it's super confusing. Prepare for likely questions from the officers. Know very good your lack of race. That's also very important, because in case if you'll get a question, and I will share them with you later, you need to be prepared for that. Be prepared for a luggage search. Be prepared for medical screening. Before, normally it was, it was common in the case when it was COVID. Now with from last year, May, there's no necessity to have the confirmation of having your COVID vaccine. So that's kind of a relief, and it's much easier now. Okay, so let's say that you've gotten to the U.S. and you are in front with the officer, and what you need to consider and what documents you need to have. So for sure, you need to have the passport. As Anissa said, that your passport needs to be valid at least 6 months into the future. So as you've already arrived there, I think your passport would be fine. So that should be good. Then you should have a valid visa, if that is possible, with multiple and tri-stamp. Otherwise, if it's with a single one, Anissa gave a really good explanation on what you need to consider if you have an S on the in tri section in your visa. Then the SEVIS fee receipt, which is also very important to have. In case if you don't have it, you can print it. And as I said, we'll send you the presentation. You can see the link and access how you can get it. The most recent transcripts, that's also recommended for students. So maybe they will just ask for that. Your financial certification, the bank statement, or the department stipend letter, that's also recommended. Maybe it's not necessary. Maybe they will not ask you for that, but it's good to have it. And then the I-20 form, which is one of the most important documents together with your passport, I consider, because out there, it's very good described where you're going to live. It's going to be described the address of your university. Either that's going to be on campus or, living on campus, or whatever else, if that's outside of, of the territory of the university. Okay, so as I said, there are some questions you should definitely prepare for when you are getting in the U.S. So one of the questions that you might get from the officer would be like, why are you visiting the United States? And of course, in your case, your answer must match your visa. So you should say that you're a student and you are here because you want to start your studies. And that's why you have also your I-20 form, which confirms where you're going to do your studies and for how long that's going to be. And it gives a good explanation on also the financial part. Then another question is where you'll be staying. So in case if you'll be staying on campus, for example, and that coincides with the address of the university, then definitely you should mention that address. In case if, for example, you're a graduate student or a PhD and you've looked for the location for the housing yourself, you can also issue them the address that you've booked in advance. How long will you be staying in the US? I think sometimes that's a tricky question because, students might be so nervous and they would not really know what to say. So in case if, for example, you are planning to you arrived in the US, that's your first time, and you are thinking okay, next summer, maybe I'll come back home or something like that. You should definitely be aware about the fact that for how long is your visa, for how many entries are written in your visa. So you should consider also that. And you should mention actually the period of your studies. So in case if it's a bachelor degree, then it should be like 3-4 years, or if it's a community college, then it should be 2 years. If it's a graduate studies or PhD, that might vary from 2 to 6 years. So you should definitely specify the period of studies. How much money do you have available for the trips? So I think for students who are having the possibility to, who were financed, for instance, by their university with a scholarship or stipend, in case if that's a PhD, then they should mention also that. They would show their I-20 form, which would confirm how much money will be covered by the university. And of course, the rest of that amount, you would have just to show them a proof of the money you have on your bank account. So statements from your bank account would be super useful to have with you in this case. Who is paying for a trip? Again, that should be listed normally in your I-20 form. In case if part of it is covered by, for example, it will be definitely indicated there what is the contribution of the university and what is the contribution, your family contribution. So in case if you'll have the family contribution amount, then you should definitely prove that. And you'll just say, okay, that's my parents, and you will just show them your their bank accounts if it's needed. So, and also it's super important to have all that in English, guys. So the officer would understand what is written out there. Okay, have you visited the United States before? And if so, how long did you stay? That's also a super important question, because we have cases when student were, for example, with an exchange program like Flex, or they were with their parents traveling, for example. So what you should be saying in this question normally is you should consider the fact, and you should mention the fact that you stayed exactly the period that was mentioned in, for example, in your visa. So, for example, you had to stay for half a year. Then, if you stayed like 2 or 3 months more, you would just have to give them an explanation why you did that. So, so yes, you should be really aware that you might get this question, because they have that in their system, and they would just see that you came before. So, in case if you've broke the law and you stayed a bit more, for example, from last time, you would need to have a good explanation on that. But I guess that would be also a question that you might receive maybe at your visa interview, because they would also have access to this information. Okay, good. So other things you need to consider, that's the baggage checkpoint. So consider that now, because you are now in the process of preparation, and I really advise you to look at this link on which says which are the prohibited and restricted items when you are coming into the U.S. So, so definitely when you are preparing your luggage, consider the items that you shouldn't bring, because many international students, they would bring a lot of food because they are afraid they would not have the same food they are used to eat every day. So, so definitely check on this link what is allowed and what not is allowed to be brought. Okay, the I-94 entry record. That's so once you successfully enter to the US, you'll have an electronic record of your entry, recording in the Department of Homeland Security database. You do not have to take any action while entering the US concerning this form, because that's normally electronically, and I can also share with you this link. So, so you can, that's normally, this document actually states the date when you entered in the, United States. So, so it might be just useful to know that this form exists. Okay, then we have the secondary inspection. So the officer might review your information at the border, and he might not be satisfied with your documents. I mean, he might require you to go to another inspection. So if you are missing any document, so in this case, you would need to go to the secondary inspection. There is nothing to be afraid about, so don't be scared in case if they would ask you just to go once again over this inspection. Normally it should be fine. They would just, they would just take some more time on reviewing your documents, for example, in case if there's something they would not understand at first. Okay, so here I have some tips for smooth travel. I know that everyone would have one, and that's why we've asked our students for another PDO, because we do consider that students can give one of the best and one of the actual and up-to-date feedback on what to consider when you are traveling to the US. So if flying, do not pack your immigration documents in your checked luggage. Make sure to carry them in your carry-on luggage. So be careful with that, because that happens. Sometimes you're in a rush, you are, you are very nervous. So be careful of that. Plan your flights appropriately. So if you need a connecting flight after you first land in the US, remember that you will need to go through customs first, which can take often 1 to 2 hours if the process is smooth. And also we have the check-in. So we highly recommend you to do the check-in before. So that would be 20 hours before. After that, you would go just to the security check straight and to the customs. So yeah, that might be a bit more rapid, but anyway, you should consider the lines, especially when you have a flight that is connected, and that happens usually in big airports. Don't arrive to the US too early. So it's important to know that the first time you enter the US with your F1 visa, you can only arrive up to 30 days before your I-20 start date. So consider that as one of also very important thing, an important thing to know. Okay, so you have to review the restricted items, as I said, and you will have there the link in the presentation. So when you are doing your luggage, definitely you should also consider this. And now, as you've arrived, you passed the border, so it's a relief. You've got your luggage, everything is good, everything was smooth. And you've been, for example, many students would have the possibility to have someone from the university that would come from them after. Otherwise, you would have to schedule that yourself, and you'll have to go to the university yourself. Normally, the university and the office that is responsible for international students, they would give you a really detailed map on how to get to the university. So they would just say what is the closest airport, what is the bus you might take from the airport to the closest city or to the campus, or what you need to consider, what train you need to take. So they would definitely give you a very detailed explanation on how to get to the campus. And when you arrive on campus, what do you need to do? So first of all, if, for example, that's a Saturday or Sunday, universities normally they take care of that, and they have someone on the campus that would take care about those students who arrive late night and they are super confused and they don't really know where to go. They would be taking care of that. So make sure to ask your university if in the day of your arrival there will be someone to meet you. Otherwise, you just have to go to their reception to take, maybe they will just give you the key at the arrival. I mean, when you go to the reception, and they would just explain you where you are living. So you should normally unpack your things and settle down in your room. One of the important parts, maybe not immediately, but what you need to consider is also to open a bank account, because there might be some transactions or some costs that you might have to afford yourself. So also consider creating a bank account. Go shopping or find a cafeteria. That's very important, because sometimes, and in such a situation, food would definitely calm you down a bit. So yes, know where is that. Ask at the reception. Maybe they would also give you an explanation on where everything is located, or a map with the campus, for example. Then arrange a meeting with your faculty advisors. That's super important, because the faculty advisor definitely would help you with your courses, and he would explain you what is good and what is not good maybe for you from the courses they are offering. So he will also explain you when you have to start and what you need to consider and what you need to prepare for that. So also ask for that and do a meeting with him. Join the campus tour. Normally there are campus tours organized, maybe not in the first day when you are coming, but if there is a person who would meet you there, he would do that for you. He or she would do that with you. Otherwise, ask what is the day when you can just go around and see the library, the laboratory, and all other important things that you need to access on your campus. Then find your lecture halls, tutorial rooms, labs. as I mentioned before. Borrow your textbooks from the library. That's super important, because sometimes, even though in the school or the university is covering, your books and supplies, maybe there will be some cases when this is not covered. So make sure to go to the library and ask them if that is possible to be borrowed. So don't stress too much about the fact that maybe, you don't have friends yet, and about fitting in or finding friends. Don't stress about that. Take your time, take it slow. You will definitely be fine. Okay, next slide. So, as I mentioned before in our agenda, there is a budget you also need to do. Don't consider the fact, and don't be too relaxed, even though if the university, for example, is giving you, I don't know, full ride scholarship, or everything is covered. Anyway, you need to have some pocket money. And sometimes, for example, for graduate students or for PhD students, they might have to pay their rent and utilities. They might have to pay for their books, for study materials, for a notebook. Also, sometimes the university would help you with your medical insurance, and that might be covered. And in your financial aid or from the scholarship that you would have, the medical insurance might be included. Sometimes that might not be included, and so you would have to take care about that. Normally, that should be done also in advance. So you should discuss also with your with the admission office or with the international office how you might do that. But sometimes that might happen when you arrive on campus. So don't forget about this. That's one of the important part. But this normally is done in advance. Then social activities, sports. There are a lot of campuses where you might do a lot of activities, and they are offering all type of sports and all type of events organized for international students, for locals. That's a very nice way to gather people and to do a network. So we definitely recommend you to find the place where you would, where you would continue with your extracurricular activities or hobbies. Telephone. So make sure to buy a SIM card. That's very useful, because you might have to pay for that to have internet, even though that's definitely possible to have to have the Wi-Fi on campus. But let's say for those who are not living on a campus, they should definitely take care also about that. You can definitely buy that in the airport, but maybe it's even better to do that in the city where, for example, your residence or your campus is. And as you might know, there are a lot of services of carriers where you can actually take an eSIM. So that's not very expensive, and that also allow you to to not take a lot of care to buy the telephone from immediately. So yes, consider that option also. And then in case of emergency, also make your budget. So just having some pocket money, it's never a bad idea. So definitely not a lot of them, but sufficiently to to afford some shopping, for example, some books, or some trips if you want to do some trips in the region where your campus is. Okay, and then for the arrival on campus, I have some more tips for you guys. I hope that you can use them. Do not forget to leave your contact info and flight schedule with your parents and relatives. So make sure to talk with them. Make sure to inform them at every stop you have, if that's a connecting flight. They would really need to do, and they are there, the bridge between you and the university also, because they would just know where you are in that moment, and if you've arrived and if you're safe. So make sure to offer them this information. Visit the International Students Office as soon as possible after your arrival. So as I've said, there you can also find your faculty advisor. Stay busy, create a new routine, schedule some self-care, join a student club, try to integrate into the culture. And yes, I think that's one of the tips. That's one of the most important tips that I really wanted to mention, and I really wanted to bring up to you. And I really hope that this might be useful. Okay, good. So maybe related to the presentation that I made, you have some more questions, and you can list them here in our comment section. Otherwise, we can also discuss them at the end of our presentation of our PDO. Okay, good. So we have here some question about work and internship. I know there are things for students like that. You cannot work more than 20 hours per week. Is it hard for international students find work? Okay, great question. So I think that definitely should be, if we are talking about work on campus, and if we're talking about a bachelor degree is one thing. If we're talking about graduate degree is totally another thing. I mean, not about the number of hours, because the number of hours it's definitely the same. But in case of bachelor degree students, definitely you should discuss that with the admission office, if there is a possibility for you to start working from the from the second semester, because normally there is no possibility to work from the first semester. Sometimes the university would not allow you to work even from the first year, so you just have to start your work from the second year. And so make sure to check that. Sometimes you can also start from the first semester, so it depends on the university, and you can ask them. And normally there is not, for international students, and I mean for all the students, normally there are not super highly paid jobs. So don't be, don't be too excited that you'll make a lot of money there. Definitely those are some pocket money, and you can normally work in the library, in the cafeteria, or on campus if there is, a necessity of work, for example. So definitely check that with the office, with the international office or with the admission office. Okay, internships. Oh, but I forgot to mention also about PhD and graduate students. If we're talking about PhD students, for them it's much easier because they also get a stipend and they are paid for their studies. And for graduate students, yes, if, for example, they are not financed totally for their studies, they can also work 20 hours per week, and it depends on the type of assistantships or fellowship they also have. So that might be also checked with the office. Then internship. Can we become intern in companies? Do they usually take intern students as interns? Yes, they do. So normally you can do that after you finish your studies. You have this period of time when you can work and you can do your internship. You can also do an internship during the summer. I mean, that's also possible. So you should definitely check that with your faculty advisor, and also in the international office, because it also depends on the, if you are coming back, for example, for somewhere in your homeland or not. So yes, that's definitely a thing that needs to be, again, checked with the offices there. But it depends. Regarding the internship, if we're talking about an internship that would be done after you finish your studies, you should know that for different majors, for different programs, you are having the possibility to do your internship for a specific amount of time. So, for example, if that's STEM, that might be 2 years. If that's another program, then you should definitely check that with the office, with the international office, because that's a thing that might change, and that's not exact. I cannot really say now for every university or for every program. So yes, definitely that should be checked once again. Good. Okay, I don't really see any other questions here in the chat. So now we'll have a break of 5 minutes, and then we go back to our presentations, because we are continuing to offering you here useful information, which you will, which we hope you will apply when you are gonna arrive in the US. And my next colleague will be also Anissa Ainomi, presenting us really nice information. So stay tuned, guys. Don't do Hello once again, and welcome back to our video. We are continuing here with our presentation. Thank you very much for staying with us for this short break. Okay, so we are continuing now with my colleague Anissa, which has a really nice topic related to arriving to the USA. So Anissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alina. Well, thank you guys for those who are still with us. We are here with more interesting topics which will prepare you for your arrival to the US. So we learned about the visas. Hopefully everyone's visas is improved. We learned about travel to the US, what to do, how to pass the boarding controls. And now imagine that you're finally in the country of your dreams. You got to the United States. It sounds very exciting. Very fun, I know, but actually, the first thing that you will meet while you are in the US, when you are just in the US, it's jet lag. So I don't know whether you guys know what jet lag is about, but it's, for instance, because the time zones have changed for you, but you haven't still adjusted to the new time zone. You are experiencing jet lag. You're living with your old time zone in your country. And it can be very frustrating because it can be very dark outside, but you feel like it's early morning and you very, have energy to go out and do something, but it's actually night, and vice versa. When it's bright, sunny outside, but you feel like that you're tired and you want to sleep, and it can, it can be a feeling which will be there for a couple of days, maybe a week, or even more. But there are ways to fight that, and we'll talk about that right now. So the first thing to do to overcome a jet lag would be actually to try to adjust your sleep schedule even before your flight, even before you arrive to the US. I know it may sound weird. Okay, if you are in Central Asia, you have like 10 hours of difference with states, so you can't really sleep that early, but at least try to do that. Try to, if you usually go to bed around 12 p.m. or 11 p.m., try to go first at 10 p.m., then try to go at 9 p.m. So you will actually decrease that barrier between your home country and the country in the United States where you plan to move. Because when you do that and you arrive to the US, it actually will be easier for you to adjust to new time zone. Also, another tool to overcome jet lag would be to stay hydrated. Not to feel exhausted, we suggest that you drink plenty of water before, during, and after your flight. So have bottles with you. Drink water as much as you can. And when you move to the US, you would see that US actually citizens in the United States have this habit of drinking water all the time. They will walk with their bottles all around. So you can actually try to get that useful habit for yourself too, and start doing that even earlier, before your flight, for instance. Also, as I said, yes, you are arriving to a new time zone. So even if you feel that it's like late night and you want to sleep, it can be very sunny and bright outside, and vice versa. When you yes, and vice versa, when you are very sleepy, it will be sunny, bright. So for instance, if you if it's, what do I want to say? Okay. So what I wanted to say is that, for instance, yes, it may be harder for you to adjust to a new time zone if you will not do that. So for instance, if you will not be sleeping during the nights, or if you will not be walking during the days. So make sure it may be harder, but at least try to start from minimum, right? Start walking for an hour or two, but the more time you spend in the sunlight, it actually will help you to reset your internal clock, and your body will start feeling there's actually daylight right now. I don't have to go to bed. And for instance, at night, it will start feeling that it's actually in nighttime. So if you go outside more often, it will be probably easier for you to remind and tell your body that we have changed our time zone. And last but not least, it may sound hard, but try avoid naps. So for instance, if you were used to the fact that you sleep during the day back in your home country, maybe first couple of weeks until you don't get used to the new time zone. Try to avoid that, because so you could actually go to bed in the right time. Because if you adjust your internal time zone faster, you will overcome the jet lag faster. Okay. But if, for instance, you have never heard about jet lag, I highly recommend you to Google it and see, maybe watch some videos about people telling about the jet lag and so on. Usually it takes about a week, if you do everything right, to adjust to new time zone. Okay, next. The other thing would be, because you guys, for some of you, for instance, it may be the first time you actually left your home country, and everything will be very new. And you may feel lost, right? And you may feel confused. Okay, maybe you are very used to the fact that your parents wake you up in the morning and, breakfast is ready. And for you, it's the beginning of the day. Like, that this breakfast on the table means that you have to get focused, because now your day starts. In US, because there is no one actually to take care of you, you are now an independent adult person coming to the United States to studies. It's your job to establish a routine for yourself, because whenever you have a routine, it will be easier to adjust new things, to get into the new things, and make your life much easier. So to establish a routine, it's important that you set yourself a daily schedule. Yes, when your classes will start, for instance, your schedule will be more or less set, because you would know yourself what time you have a class, how many lectures and so on. But it's also important to plan things before the classes start and after. So plan, for instance, what time you wake up every day, plan your meal prep, plan your homework time, you spend for that. Because when you have a schedule, it's actually easier to create a routine, because you're gonna repeat things over and over in certain period of time, and it will be easier for you to do it automatically later, right? Not to think that it was your schedule. It will be your natural habit. Also, it's good, I know, that when, for instance, students from our countries go to States, we have this achievement heritage inside us. So we want to achieve more and more, and students, they work very hard, put a lot of efforts to study. It's great. It's amazing that you pay so much time, to get good grades, to be the best students, especially if you guys are on financial aid, on scholarships. You have to maintain certain GPA. But it's also very important to have time to relax and have some social activities, right? Make sure you have time to make friends. Make sure you have time just to sleep, for instance, not to think about the homework, because it's also very important. And make sure you build in as part of your routine. So in your routine, just only set a schedule for classes and homeworks and meal prep, but also make sure you have a time block devoted to regular sleep, maybe some exercises, maybe just, you have 30 minutes of spare time of doing nothing and watching your favorite show on YouTube or something. So please remember about that. And last but not the least, when you are in the new country, you overcame jet lag, you're trying to establish a routine, don't forget about staying active. So it's very important that you engage in physical activities or sports, because usually sport is the best tool to maintain our both physical and mental health, and to reduce amount of stress, because it's still this moving to a new country is a stress for any person. You can be very excited about that, but for your body, it will be a stress it has to cope with. And one of the tools would be to stay active, to do physical activities. And thankfully, United States and University of the United States offer all those services. You can be, you can take part in, you can join clubs, sport clubs. They have gyms and all other facilities you can use to keep yourself physically active. Okay. Next thing, which is very important thing, when you have arrived to the United States, first month, probably I'll share my own experience, right? First month, you'll be very excited. Everything will be new. You have new peers, new people you have met, your classes, English, English language, everything is in English. Environment is different, food is different, country is different. You are very, very excited about everything. But then, and when you get used to the things, actually, there is a moment when every student comes through, which is called homesickness, and you start feeling homesick because okay, the school is not as new as it was. You get used to people, you got used to the classes, you know how to get from destination A to B, you went to all the malls and stuff. So and you start feeling that you miss home a lot. And to overcome that homesickness, the best suggestion and recommendation would be to have friends, to have people around you, right? Because if you are alone, you probably will run home to open your laptop and chat with your friends and family who left in your country. But not to do that, to overcome that, it's actually a right time to make new friends. And since you will be on the campus, you will have students your age with the same goals and desires who came to the United States to study, to get their degree. You will have international students there. It will be easier for you mentally to have like-minded people around you, who to have friends around you with whom you can, for instance, overcome these difficulties together. And how to make friends in the United States. So to make friends in the United States, of course, the first place you're going to meet them would be your classes, right? However, if you are used to the format that you study with the same people all the time and it's easier to build connections in your home country, in the US, it will be different. So every class you visit, they're going to be new group of people, right? With some, probably you will have similar classes, more or less, but in majority of cases, every time you attend a new class, the people will change. So you will meet a lot of people right away during your sessions, and during the classes, not always, you cannot really talk and be friends because you will be focused on your classes. But it's also possible. Maybe you can find yourself a study buddy and you will be preparing homeworks together. It's also one of the ways to connect to a friend, to make a friend. But what can actually really help you would be to join clubs and organizations. So U.S. universities are famous for having different clubs for different purposes, and join the one which you like. And for instance, if you join an art club, it means you are fond of arts, right? You probably like to draw, paint, or something. And in the same art club, you will have the same people who have the same hobbies as you. So you have some point to connect, and it'll be easier to make friends and find a new friend there. Also, it would be very nice, especially if you're an international student, attend different campus events. So there will be specific events only for international students. There will be some cultural events, social gatherings, but all of those events will have a topic. And if you are joining that event, it means you are interested in that topic. Therefore, people who are there with you also are interested in that topic. Again, meaning that you have a point of contact, right? There is something which connects you, and you can build, for instance, your conversation and friendship on that. Next would be very open and approachable. So I know you have best friends in your home country, but be open to make new friends in new country as well, because usually university is the most exciting period of life for any person. And I don't know whether you guys have heard that, but for instance, in my country, people say that true friends are made during the university, not during school or something. You may argue with me. I absolutely agree. It's different for different people. But you also can meet lifelong friends at school, at a university. But to meet them, you have to be open to that. You have to be approachable. So be polite, smile, start conversations, attend different events. So you are open to meet new people. And last but not least, I did say about that there are going to be specific, for instance, events for like international students, like social and academic support, maybe meetings, conferences, and you can, like if you feel that there is some challenges, you can reach out to those, and they can probably guide you, advise you where to go, what to do, and so on. So make sure you use all the resources which are available for you to make sure your arrival to the United States, your first months of classes, and your life in States feels very positive. You have like a positive mindset towards that. Okay. Another thing which would help you to actually how to say, like, to enter the life in the US smoothly and to feel yourself like in the right place would be to be culturally aware about the holidays and traditions that are in the US, but also be open to accept those, right? So for instance, I think majority of you do know already, but if you don't know, Google the US holidays. Learn about which kind of holidays US celebrates. Do they have holidays which are similar to the ones in your country? Okay. Learn about their significance and customs, and more importantly, celebrate them there with your friends and peers. If, for instance, if of course it's like, doesn't interfere somehow with some principles or your views. But for instance, just to demonstrate you, there are three major holidays in the United States that we can highlight. One would be Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is celebrated usually, I think, last Thursday of November. And it's a holiday where you actually are grateful for everything you have. And one of the biggest traditions of this Thanksgiving, which many families in US try to follow, they cook a turkey. It's a main dish for the Thanksgiving celebration. That's why if you have friends in States, American or international, try to celebrate this holiday with them. It has a very positive purpose, right? It's to be thankful for everything you have. That's why it will be very fun and interesting. And also one of the another reason why Thanksgiving is very known, because the night after Thanksgiving, it's the biggest sale day in the US. It's called Black Friday, and everyone go crazy on that Black Friday because every store, everything has huge discounts. And you will see people, buying like equipment, clothes, and everything. People wait a whole year to spend their money during the Black Friday sale, which is the night after Thanksgiving. And that's why this holiday is very known. Next, I'm sure which many of you have heard from all the American movies you have watched and stuff, it's Christmas, right? Christmas celebration. It's a very big holiday in the United States. It's celebrated in the December 25th, and it's very warm and sweet holiday. Usually students during the Christmas have their, like, actually the school break will start. You will be on a holiday. So you can, gather with your family. Maybe you can, if, for instance, if you're staying in the United States during the Christmas, and you have some friends, I'm sure you'll be invited to somebody's house to celebrate that holiday. It's also about family gathering, connections, friends. So, and you can learn some traditions about Christmas. Like, for instance, in the US, people prepare for the Christmas a couple months before the holiday actually would happen. They will make sure they buy presents for all their family members, for the friends, and they will be preparing for the Christmas starting from like October. And you will see decorations all over the place. It's a very beautiful holiday to celebrate in the US, and it will be nice if you be part of it, so you feel what it is like actually to live in the United States. And last but not the least, I think one of the biggest holidays as well, it's US Independence Day, which is July 4th. It's also a day off, and you will be on a summer break during that time. If you have a chance to stay in the US and to see the how big the celebration is, that would be amazing, because families usually all decorate again using US flags and some decorations with US flags. They will have huge gatherings. If in the larger cities, probably there will be something more happening. But it's also for many US citizens, it's a reason to be together with their families and friends and celebrate this holiday. So, and if you have friends, for instance, you will always have a company to celebrate these holidays. And once more, to get adapted to the country faster and easier, it's very important to be open and respectful of its holidays, traditions, and try to celebrate that with your friends and peers. It will be easier for you then to, I forgot this word, but it's like when you, for instance, your not entrance to the United States, but you get assimilated easily, something like that. Okay. So when it comes to cultural awareness and adaptation, there are a couple of things that I would suggest you to do. It's very important that you respect traditions, right? So if you know, for instance, that there is some very important tradition that they have, like they greet some differently, or they are very serious about punctuality. So for instance, I don't know, in Central Asian countries, people tend to be late, and it's considered to be a national thing, right? In US, it's vice versa. People like to be on time, and punctuality is important. That's why try to make sure you know that and you follow that. Maybe greeting manners will be different in the country you're moving to, so learn about that. Okay. Another one would be cultural etiquette. So, for instance, in United States, the personal space is very important. So I know myself. I come from Central Asian country, and I may ask so many questions, like which are very private. But I'm doing it just because of my mindset, right? For me, it's my demonstration of my respect and that I care about the person. In US, if you ask too many questions, which are private, you may offend someone, because people do respect their personal space. And that's why you, again, be very aware of that, and make sure you are very accurate when you ask some kind of questions which you think can be very personal. For instance, be polite, respect everything you see there, because it's a new country you're moving to. So you are coming there, meaning that you have to accept their traditions, their life, and their etiquette. Okay. And last but not the least, it's great, as I said, you are moving there, so you have to, get inside and assimilate yourself and learn about their traditions and cultures, and respect that. But it also means that you yourself, coming from a different culture, from a different country, can share your traditions, right? Culture sharing, it's one of the, I think, best tools to actually connect to a country and to be open-minded. So yes, learn about their culture, learn about their traditions, but share yours. You can participate in various events at your campus. You can organize sessions for your neighbors, anything, right? And at the dorm where you share about your culture, maybe your traditions, I don't know, music, food, anything. Learn from them, but also share. It's very important. Okay. Final tips about cultural adaptation. So to do everything which I told you before, it's very important to be open-minded, right? So you have to be open to new ideas, to new topics, new beliefs. You don't have to judge that. You just have to accept that people have different opinions, and that's why it's very important to be open-minded. And for instance, if you struggle with that now, I highly recommend that you train the skill in yourself. Okay, it will help you not just in your school but in the future as well. Be open-minded means you are accepting that there are different opinions. You're not judging, you're just learning that they exist there. Okay, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If something is not clear, ask locals to explain you. People like when you learn about their when they see that someone is interested in their culture and their traditions. So ask questions. It's absolutely fine. Stay connected. Make sure you are in touch with your friends, with your family. Even for instance, if you come back for the summer break or winter break, reach out to your friends, reach out to your professors. If you have some host families, like if your university provides you with a host family, make some connections, reach out to them too. So you are staying connected, meaning that you are remembering about them, and when you arrive back to US, it'll be easier for you, again, to have this transition very smoothly. And last but not the least, be patient. Yes, I did explain you the steps and tools, but it doesn't happen right away, right? Like by click. It takes time. It takes time to make friends. It takes time to learn about the culture. It takes time to learn about the tradition. So how to say, give yourself some time. Don't punish yourself if you did something wrong. If you didn't learn about the tradition, or you were not ready for some holiday, it's okay. Give yourself some time, learn in advance. But anyways, give yourself a month, two, maybe more, to adapt and so your transition happens smoothly. Okay, don't be harsh on yourself. Okay, I think I shared everything I could about life and culture and your personal attitude towards that. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to respond to them. If no, then we can move further.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much, Anissa. Guys, you can leave your questions in the comment section and we can answer them at the end of our presentation. But next goes my colleague Umid, and he has another interesting topic to discuss with our students. So that's related to financial management. So Umid, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. And today we're going to talk about several topics that are also important to consider when you are in the United States, and even if you're planning to study in another country. It's financial management, and it's how to manage your expenses correctly. So the first thing that you should know is you should create a budget, because for the reasons that you are living in another country, your parents or your sponsor may not be able to send you money instantly, and you have to make a budget. The first and the most important money management tip in college is to create and adhere to a budget. What is budgeting itself? So budgeting is the budget empowers students to prioritize expenses, differentiate between wants and needs, and avoid pitfalls of impulsive spendings. So it's like your first step to adult life. It will help you to stay away from impulse purchases. So, for example, if you say you have, let's say, $1,000 for a month, and you have $200 for food and like $200 for transportation, and let's say $600 for your rent and bills and etc. You need to stick to this budget, and this will help you to be disciplined and stay away from the impulsive purchases. So you have to consider how much you need for your daily needs and emergency fund, and how much to put into your saving accounts. Remember that, as I have said, that you are not able to get your money quickly because you are living in another country, and it may take some time for the money transfers, and you should always have an emergency fund to prevent yourself from this kind of difficult situations. So you have to make it easier, you should write down your needs and the money needed. So it has to budgeting. It's first of all, so writing down all of your expenses and creating this budget for yourself. So you have to always have an emergency fund. So college is an unpredictable journey, and financial emergencies can arise without warning. So make savings a habit in your money management journey, even if you can't save a lot. Small amounts matter too. So why you should save? As I have mentioned, you cannot predict anything that can happen to you. It can either be some medical bills, if you don't if your insurance doesn't cover it. It can be some so your writing assignment and your computer is suddenly broken down and you need a new computer, or for example your code has turned down, or etc. And you need to have these emergency funds for yourself. Or maybe you just lost your all of your money, or with the wallet and with your cards and etc., and you have to live something on. And this habit not only eases immediate financial stress, but also instills lifelong financial discipline. You can make two accounts, one for spending and the other for saving, to avoid overspending money. Once again, to avoid overspending money, you should make budgeting. And take advantage of student discounts. So being a student comes with plenty of perks, one of which is a student discount. In the United States, most of the companies and stores, they offer student discounts. So almost every sector, whether beauty, subscription like Spotify, bookstore, gym, restaurants, or cafes, offer special discounts for students. To save yourself plenty of time, for businesses that can offer discounts, you're looking to hang out on the spot with your friends. So you should look for restaurants to offer student discounts. Next, you also make a habit of bring your student ID everywhere you go in case you need to buy something and a student discount is available. So most businesses will verify your student status by asking for your student ID. So not only student ID, United States is very popular. In the United States, very popular to use coupons, to use some kind of promotions and sales. So before going somewhere, after you made a budget, you have to make a planning, and maybe you should go to a place that offers a discount or it offers some kind of sale. So for example, in the United States there are plenty of shops. If for instance you're considering to buy clothes, there are special kind of shops that can offer you the clothes with a high quality for a cheaper price, not because they are made of bad products or they have a bad quality, but they were maybe from the last collection or the last season. And for these purposes, they are transferred to special stores that offer discounts. And also, you may download some apps if you want to eat out in some kind of fast food restaurants. And if, for example, if you want to eat fast food like McDonald's or Burger King, it's up to you, of course, to eat such kind of food. But even there, you can save up your money by downloading their apps, which can offer you some special discounts or offers or something else. They often do promote this kind of stuff in order to encourage students, encourage people to save their money and to use their product. And you need to learn, of course, about financial literacy. So understanding the basics of investing money and management tips and the importance of credit scores and the nuances of tax preppers prepare students for financial realities of post-college life. So if you're considering staying, for example, in the United States and continue your master's degree or finding a job there, you need to learn the rules there and how the importance of the credit score and how the taxes are applied there. You can learn from seniors or even online. There are plenty of resources available to you how to save money and learn to invest. And remember that investing doesn't always mean investing in cryptocurrency, but investing in yourself. So again, you should use this kind of emergency fund because you are investing in your safety, and you can use this money later to buy something that is needed for you, or some kind of extracurricular course or a book or etc. And then this kind of financial literacy can help you further in your career or in your life. And so one of my tips that I suggest to you is to cook at home. So if you got used to like eating out, or you don't know how to cook, you should learn how to cook at home. So eating out is expensive and easy way to cut costs to cook most meals at home. So cooking from scratch with a season full of fruit and vegetables, lettuce, beans, cheap cuts of meat won't just save you money, it often offers you a better for your health than eating out. So instead of cooking one meal at a time, try cooking in a bulk and taking leftovers to university for lunch or next day on freezing individual portions to reheat them at the times when you are too busy to cook. So it will save you a lot of money because eating out in the United States is much more expensive than eating in the countries of, for example, Central Asian countries. And it's a typical much more expensive to eat at a restaurant. So if you learn how to cook and to cook at home and you make this a habit, you will save tons of money. And not only that, if you learn how to cook healthy meal, it will be beneficial for you in the long term. So if you don't have any questions, we may proceed to the next section of our. Okay, and after you prepared yourself financially, you need to prepare yourself academically and professionally. So you should first of all attend this new student orientation. So almost every university offers, let's say, some kind of orientation weeks or orientation days. And in orientation in schools and colleges is a fundamental process designed to help students to transition smoothly into their academic environment. These programs typically include a series of activities and information sessions to familiarize with the campus educational expectations and available resources. So you shouldn't miss this, because not only the country is new, but also the university, the educational systems that it has, it's also completely new environment and the atmosphere where you should be adapted to. And this orientation weeks or days, they can provide you with the information that is necessary not only to study, but how to act and how to behave in a certain scenarios. So you should also register for a class. So in some universities, the registration for the class is not necessary after you have entered to the university and choose your faculty. But in the United States, you need to register for your classes, and you have an optional models which you have to choose. So registration is one of the first big steps as you embark on your academic journey. That's why you want to help to guide you to success. You will receive a guidance from academic advisor or like an academic department. Ensure you know all the steps to prepare for class registration and have access to all resources you can confidently register. And you should not underestimate the step, because if you don't register for the class, you may simply be not enrolled to it. If you're not enrolling into the class and you haven't chosen the models that are you're willing to study, you will simply not begin your academic journey. So this is very important, because you have to take it seriously to register for the class. If you have been admitted to university, if you have gathered a visa, if you have arrived at your campus university, you still need to register for the classes. It's a separate step. It's not difficult, but it's just the formalities that you need to do in order to study. If you don't do this, you may simply, again, not begin your academic journey. So you should recognize the workload. Why the United States, most of the United States universities are considered the best in the world, and they have a very high rankings. So one of the first reasons is the amount of workload that they are putting on their students. So it's not a secret that studying in top universities, and especially in the United States, is very stressful because of the amount of pressure and workloads that students are having. So whether you attend in person or online, you're going to have a lot of work to do every week. Over the next few years, you will complete weekly assigned readings, worksheets, essays, studies, presentations, in addition to attending or watching lectures and labs. Some assignments may take only 15 minutes, while others requires hours of attention and even days or weeks. Shows and movies tend to focus on fun aspects of the college, like partying and friends, and leaving some students with unrealistic expectations. So, studying in the United States is not about partying, football matches, and cheerleading. It's about hard work. You may spend like nights not at parties. You will spend nights in the libraries or at your days, all of your days in the studying area, and the amount of workload is really huge. So in order to tackle this issue, you need to recognize the workload and how amount of time you need to spend on each of the tasks. So you need to make sure you have everything that you need. So a common mistakes the new students is that they don't come to the campus with things that they will need. So you don't need to be the person buying 100 notebooks or packing your entire bedroom into your dorm. But you also don't want to be the person who comes to a lecture with no take notes and who has to spend $200 at the store at the first night because they forgot everything. So today you can find many online guides listing what you should bring into your dorm room, from class materials to comfort items to basic hygiene supplies, and you will be prepared for your first week. The same can be found for commuter students. Ensuring you feel comfortable and ready for class helps you mentally prepare for college. You will have less anxiety and won't have to worry if you have enough money to buy everything you need last second. So you need to prepare yourself. You need to buy the books, the materials. You need to take a computer that is needed for your class. If you're taking, for example, computer science, you need to have some kind of computer that has works well for certain requirements, and you need to have books and all of the materials that you need that will help you not to be distracted from studying. Okay, if you don't have any questions, we will go to the next section, and it's the mental preparation and emotional preparation. So we've talked about it a little bit about making friends and how you should adapt, but you also need to study yourself psychologically and mentally and emotionally, because it's a huge stress for your for you and for any person who is changing their atmosphere and changing their environment. So the first things that you should do before you start college in the United States, first of all, you need to enjoy your summer. Before you start stressing, you must enjoy the summer you have left. If you are about to embark on your college journey for the first time, you will have many new exciting things that you will experience. It is a great idea to spend time with the family and friends before you leave for a college, as this could be the last you see them for a little while. College can be a hectic time, and it could be hard to visit with friends and family once the semester starts, especially if you're moving far away. So enjoying time with them before you leave is a good idea, because I've told you that will have a huge amount of workload from your assignments, and you need to make sure you don't get homesick very soon. So you should enjoy the rest of your summer, because one of the hardest part is done. You've got admitted to the university. Now it is time to relax. And you need to start planning what you will need. Now is a great time to start thinking ahead what you will need in college, as we have already said. If you're moving away from home, you should start thinking about what you use daily and what you need in your everyday life. So this will help you when you start to prepare a list of things that you need to pack and the things that you need to purchase. So if you start to plan ahead, it will be very helpful for you. Maybe because you should think about what things, for example, you are planning to take with you, so you wouldn't have to spend much more money on the things that will cost there and will be there more expensive. Also, you should think of what kind of items it will be necessary for your education that will not be able to find it there. And you have to make lists. So make lists ahead of time to help you to prevent you from leaving the things behind, and make sure that you are prepared once you get there when you're going. Make a list of things to purchase and help you in the store and ready to shop. Having the list can handily save your time, and as you will have a direct purpose once you're in the store, and save money. You don't need you will need, and the list will help you and can help you avoid or at least minimize stress and headaches that can easily be occurred when doing back to school shopping. So planning and writing it down is very important. And one of the things that in the United States people love to do um, is planning everything, and they like to plan everything ahead. And in a college, as compared to high school, all of the time management is on you as a student. You must be ready to plan out your days and make sure that you know when your classes, appointments, and meetings are. This can be a lot to do, and to choose from on the college campus, and it's easy to be bombarded with activities and opportunities from learning and fun. If you're not careful, it can be easy trying to do much and forget some of the responsibilities that you have, whether whether it's be a schoolwork, class time, or a job. If you have one like a part time in the university, having a planner can help you ensure that you don't miss any of the important aspects. So you need to write everything down, including your schedule. If you write and you have a clear agenda of your daily plans and what activities will take how much time, it will be easier for you to plan. If you're not going to plan, it will be harder for you to, as we have mentioned, to cope with this amount of workload. And you should start reading now. So developing a routine where you take time to read will help you as the time comes when you have to study and take time away from the other things you do when you get ready and do homework. So why is it important to start reading now? So in the era of Instagram Reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts, it is have been proved that people, they lose concentration easily, and they cannot focus themselves on certain tasks uh, for a long time. But readings helps your concentration, and this doesn't mean that you need to neglect other things in your life to read, nor does it mean you have to spend a lot of time of reading. But you will encounter a lot, and a lot of necessary readings for your assignments, classes, and etc. And you should spend just a little bit of time to go along to prepare you for the workload that is come to college in a few months. So it wouldn't be a stress for you to read like 500 pages per day. And so if you start reading, for example, by 100 pages per day, eventually you can easily adapt to this. And let's make a quick let's make a quick summary. So first of all, you need to plan what you're doing. So you need to plan your finances. It's called budgeting. You need to plan your time, and you need to plan your purchases and all of your activities. So if you try to make a plan and stay disciplined, you will most likely to cope with all of like 80% of problems, and 20% of the problems will be unexpected. That's why you need to plan for your emergency fund. Okay, if you don't have any questions.
Thank you, Umid. Very useful information. I hope that our students will apply it. Best of luck to you with the preparation and with the reading part. I think that's one of the struggling part for our students, because you don't really want to read a lot. But yes, you need to practice your academic writing, your reading, and a lot of skills that might be definitely important when you start with your courses. Okay, good. So guys, if you will have some more questions that you might add in our comment sections, we would highly appreciate to do it as soon as possible, like now, so we can answer to your questions. Otherwise, in case if you forgot some of them, and if you want to add more of them after this webinar, you are more than free to submit them, and we'll get back with an answer via your email address. In the same time, I would like to mention that Education USA Virtual is still offering you interactive webinars. We are offering you useful materials and resources, also informational courses. Here you have our QR code, and you can access our website to see our schedules, our closest events. I highly encourage you to also subscribe for our YouTube channel, because we are doing a lot of streams, and this month we are doing 3 more webinars which are going to be super interesting, and I'm going to tell you which ones exactly. In the same time, we have an account on Facebook. We are on Telegram, and we are on LinkedIn, so you can follow us there. Please don't forget that this month we are continuing to offer you webinars regarding tips and tricks for standardized test preparation. So we will have students which will participate at this session. They will share their tips and tricks for how to take a test, a standardized test such as TOEFL, Duolingo, IELTS, or SAT. Then we're going to have another topic dedicated to community colleges. And I hope also this is going to be interesting because we're going to have also a student who is currently studying in the U.S. at a community college. So he's going to share his experience, and you can address your questions in case if you're interested about community college. We're going to explain you the 2+2 system. And the last webinar that we're going to have for this month is going to be the webinar, the last PDO, the pre-departure orientation, which is going to be moderated together with our students. There will be some alumni and also some students who just received their visa, or they can or they might also share with you some tips on how to, pass your interview, or how to deal with the mental with the mental issues that you might face when you are departing to the U.S. So in case if we don't have any more questions, I am very, very happy to announce that, and I'm very, very happy to thank again our advisors. I hope this session and this webinar was very important and was very useful, and you will apply the skills that we tried to offer and the tips and tricks that we shared with you. You can definitely let us know about your question. Contact us via Telegram, as I mentioned. Contact us via other platforms as YouTube channel. So we're going to be more than happy to answer all your questions. But for now, we're going to say bye to you. Best of luck. And thank you very much for being with us today. Умит, какой же ты оптимист.